would tell me I was gross, but then never stop asking for intimacy. You mean that gross? Again, to my teens and tens of friends, it is me, Teacher TJ, and today I will be reading Reddit post. And this Reddit post is from the single parent subreddit, and it is from user medical procedure 219, and it's titled Not a Single Parent, but I feel like my life would be easier if I was. I had to say it like that because there's a question mark. Yeah, it probably would. If you feel that way, it would. I guess I'm asking for advice from single parents, specifically moms who left their partner during the postpartum period. I'm 25 female. My fiance is 25 male. I am 9 months postpartum. He's never laid a hand on me or our son. Let me stop you right there because that's not the only type of abuse. Please, anyone within the sound of my voice, understand that abuse comes in many forms. There is more than just physical abuse. There's mental abuse, there's financial abuse, there's emotional abuse, there's even like food abuse. Like there's all type of abuse. So, and I don't know if one is any better than the next. So don't ever think for a minute that, well, he's not beating me, so it's not that it's all bad. But he isn't a very particularly nice or thoughtful person either. This has been a problem occasionally throughout the 6 years we've been together, but it got much worse after having our son and completely ruined my perception of motherhood and marriage. Our son was born a month early, was in NICU for a month. My fiance was super kind and supportive during that time, but then he started complaining about me not working. So 10 weeks postpartum, 2 weeks out of pushing a human being out of your body, she went back to work, even though we had several savings. What was the reason? At first, I was a day shift ICU nurse, and I hear those are some of the busiest, hardworking nurses. Not taking anything from anyone else, but that's just what I heard. This was great for my husband because he never had to wake up with the baby. Yeah, it's great for him. Never slept, never got to shower, and if I wasn't working, I was with our son. You'll hear Bourbon Bougie say, and I agree wholeheartedly. Sometimes when women write these posts, they already know the answer. Because what? I will continue. My fiance was still complaining about the house not being clean enough. See, a lot of times we had to realize the thing that someone is complaining about is not really the thing that's really an issue. Sometimes men, and I'm gonna say men because women don't do this. I don't know, at least I don't know any. But, and if you do, I bet it's like few and far in between. But a lot of times men will complain about one thing when it's actually something else. And that something else isn't even worth complaining about. It seems like from reading this, nothing she could have done would have been enough. Nothing she could have done would have made this man happy. If a man could complain about you working, you have savings, and you just pushed a human being out of your vagina, he'll never be happy. He's just wanted to complain. And then sometimes I feel like they just want to push the limit, test the water. What can I get away with? And sure enough, if I can convince you to go back to work after 2 months, even though you just had a baby and aren't fully healed into a demanding field, enough I could convince you to do anything, cleaning the house, whatever he could find. Is this one of them guys that's gonna be like, just give me another try. I promise I'll make your life great. Yuck to that man. My fiance was still complaining about the house not being clean enough. So finish cleaning it. I made him breakfast and dinner, and what did he make you? I could be crying in front of him with our screaming son, and he would complain about me having our screaming child around him. He played more video games than I got in sleep during this time, but it was awful for me. I lost 70 pounds within like 4 months. I was treated horribly at work because I was so exhausted and sweating and shaking and unhealthy. He would tell me I was gross, but then never stop asking for intimacy. You mean that gross? So I switched to night shifts about 2.5 months ago. which was the plan since I was pregnant with our son, was born anyway. And then my fiance turned even meaner because now he actually has to do 50% of the work. I even tried preparing him for this. He wants me to quit. I don't want to quit. Don't quit. That's one thing my mama taught me is have your own. And if you quit and end up not going back, well, now you don't even have work experience, you know. If you stay gone for so long, like how long does he want you to quit? And with him, he'll want you to quit forever. Well, he complained that you don't have any money. I'm skinnier, so now he accuses me of cheating because there's less witnesses on night shift. Those are his words, by the way. If I'm a cheat, I don't care who on night shift, day shift, morning shift, graveyard shift, it don't matter. The more I read this, the more I literally created my YouTube page, and sometimes I'll be watching YouTube and I'll be like, oh, this is unnerving. So when I create content, I want to help people and not be emotionally bothered. But as a woman, as a good woman, as a girl's girl, I can't help but to be bothered by these posts. I'm going to meditate after I get done recording because positive energy, which hurts because I'm not skinnier by choice. He tells me that I will be the reason our relationship fails. Sometimes you got to call that bluff. Just to be clear, for months and months, I did try and talk to him about it very calmly and kindly. Why? He's not being calm and kind to you. And even though the funny thing is, when you start being unkind to them, they be like, why are you yelling at me? Why are you so mean? You just so mean. Like, y'all don't respect nice. I don't nag. I remember I used to say that. Now I'm nagging about everything now. This ain't what you want. This is not what you want. Because it's a waste of my time. But I will communicate until it's made clear that the other party is not listening. The only thing that worked was me trying to leave him. Because it got real for him. He know what he got. He just don't want you to realize your value. Now, for the last month, he's changed. But I am realizing I don't really care. Good. Stay right there. Don't stay right there. I just don't like this person anymore. And how can you? He scares me. Get it? I don't really know how to leave with a child. The same way you leave without one. You one foot in front of the other. How to be a single parent. Honey, you don't know how to be a miserable parent, okay? He makes jokes that if I love him, he would sign his rights away. No, buddy, you signed up for this. That's what you signed up for this. So ain't no signing no rights away. Not if it don't come with child support. F you mean. But I don't think he would. I don't think you could just I don't think that's a thing. I don't think you can just be like, you know what? My girlfriend, fiance, wife left me. I want to sign my kids over it. I don't think it go like that. I know you can't just take a child to the CPS or anywhere and just be like, you know what? Go ahead, keep these kids. I don't think, on second thought, I don't think I want them. I work full time, pay 50% of the bills. Of course you do. And I'm paying off my own college debts. I believe that was the end, so we'll get to some replies. And put together mess underscore says, if you're asking whether it gets easier, for me it did. For all of us it did, honey. I left my ex when my daughter was 15 months. Good for you. To give you an idea, I remember being at a postpartum appointment and he called because he couldn't settle her. And I had to leave to deal with it. That was the level of support. Doing it alone is hard, but it was honestly easier than carrying him as well. I remember once I said, I'm trying to fly and I'm trying to do things, but I feel like he's sitting on my cape. And he was so offended. And now that I look at it, he wasn't offended. He was upset that I realized what was right in front of me. How can you be offended at the truth? I remember the first night, it was just us two, and I put her down at 7 p.m. and just sat there like, everything's done, no tension, no complaints, no cleaning, no meal prep. Right, because we'll eat a handful of almonds and go to bed. Good night. But then they want real meals and stuff. Now, that's one thing I can't say the man did cook, but he had to eat. You gonna tie me to the stove? No, I'm not cooking. Get out of here. I've worked full time the whole time. She's in before after school care now, and I've made it work. Kudos to you. A few months ago, I even bought us our own place. Aww. The hardest part was emotional, not practical. Seeing couples letting go of what I thought life would look like, that still stings sometimes, yeah. But day by day, it's lighter. Everything's on your term, and you're not constantly hoping someone will step up. It's not easy, but it can absolutely be easier. And then Duck 7 Goose says, I have to agree with this. I was already doing everything myself, so really nothing changed when I got divorced. He has no custody and I don't get child support. It was the emotional part that was the hardest. And Emily U22 says, I would have to agree that I left when my son just turned 2 and I was 10 weeks pregnant with my daughter. My ex didn't hit me, but he was emotionally, financially, mentally abusive. He could be very mean, and I had enough and left him, never went back. But when I had my son, he turned, it was switch. And I gave him so many chances. I would at least had my mom move to Cali and stay with family, but I don't think that anymore. Just my mom and I know some people don't have that, but that's true. But if you can put money to the side and leave, it would sound like he is a narcissist. Yeah, that's what I was thinking because they're insatiable. It's not y'all didn't have enough money. It was the reason that you needed to work. It wasn't that the house was not clean. It wasn't clean enough. It wasn't that it's narcissists are insatiable. They really just want to control you, pull your strings, get a rise out of you. It's not about you, it's about controlling you, controlling your emotions, controlling your movements as best as they can. But shout out to Emily for leaving 10 weeks pregnant with a 2-year old. It does not get better. You stay as long as you like. But understand, it does not get better. And what I notice is when your partner accuses you of cheating, normally it's them that are cheating. And I'm sorry you're going through this, but it sounds like you need to leave this person. And I think we can all agree on that, hun. Or I say hun because I don't know the name right off hand. Says, my life got far easier once I realized that the absence of violence isn't, in fact, a healthy relationship. Been solo parenting for the last 5 years, and the difference in myself and my now teenagers has been noticed and commented on. Parenting is hard as it is without your partner behaving like an additional child. For real. And that's one thing that you have to take in consideration. Both he and other weird individuals alike would like you to believe that leaving will hurt the kids, leaving will help the kids. Chainsaw Bobcat says, I realize that the absence of violence isn't, in fact, a healthy relationship. Say it louder for the woman in the back. Humble underscore flow underscore 3665 replies to that saying, honestly, I know my brain worked that way and I wonder if it's the same for others. We need therapy and self esteem support, ladies. And it's true. It's so hard for me to admit to having low self esteem because I think so highly of myself. So I do have to question, like, if not low self esteem, what then? And I was talking with someone yesterday and I was like, maybe I am dumb in that aspect because let's be for real, I do hold a college degree. So I'm not dumb, okay? But did I make dumb decisions? Hell yeah. I made some dumb decisions thinking that you can save someone or you can here, love him through it. I just want to love him through it. Ain't no loving him through it. He don't love him to love you. What? Girl, go. So that's gonna be my shirt line. It's gonna say, girl, go. But it's not your brain, my love. Chainsaw Bobcat says. It is the patriarchal society we live in, which hammers into little girls they need a man to be worth anything. And they should be grateful for the man who doesn't beat them. And that's so true. I remember going to see my auntie, and my ex husband and I were still together at the time. And she said, hey, it's so good to see you. I'm so glad y'all still together. And I was like, I don't talk to her on the phone. You don't talk to her on the phone. She glad for what? Even he laughed at it. He said, "Glad I'm here." Like what? And then humble underscore flow underscore 3665 says, "You're kind of right. It is partly the way society was set up and partly my brain because that's the example I was set as a child." So yeah, it's that society. Yeah, we definitely were raised to believe that the man is the answer. He's gonna protect us. He's gonna provide for us. Yeah. Specialist Wombat says emotional abuse is violence, and I agree. It just doesn't leave visible bruises. I'm glad you left. We all are. Humble underscore flow underscore 3665 say, I agree. The long term impact of emotional abuse is really debilitating for a lot of people. Thank you. And it is, because I can literally sometimes be reading these Reddit posts and I'll be ready to cry. Just like, girl, too emotional. Goblin says, honestly, you have considered he wants out of the relationship, but wants to make you be the one to end it so he can adopt a martyr routine to his friends and family, because this is pretty common and sounds really plausible here. And that's so funny too, because they be acting like they want you to leave them, and then the minute you do, I think not only do they want to be the one to not looked at as the one who left, but I think also they want to be the one they want it to end. They want it to end. But I felt like if you are the one that ends it, once they realize that you were the best thing that happened to them, it kind of gives them an opportunity to come crawling and begging back, because I didn't want it to end, so they say. So, can I have our family back again? I think that's another reason they don't want to end it. Love the rain. Me too. I love the name because I love the rain. The sound, the peacefulness, the calmness, the look of it, everything about the rain. I love it. Underscore 89 says, my ex behaved so terribly after my son was born. This is definitely one reason why. He wanted to be able to tell his friends and family it was me who broke up the family. Stop him seeing his son, but really, he just didn't want any of the responsibility that came with raising a child. To be honest, there were signs before I had my son that I hadn't acknowledged. The relationship was already abusive because there was no physical violence until after I did realize. My parenting journey has been hard because of illness and disability, but life has been happier, calmer, and easier as a single parent. And it's even better now. We are basically no contact. I dig that 100%. Vladimir says, notice how you had a problem with his behavior, and yet somehow that situation ended up with you feeling bad for him and him not taking accountability at all. That sort of thing doesn't improve without a person seriously working on themselves. They don't want to work on themselves. I think the fact that men wait for women to leave them so they can be the victim is laughable. I think it's also a way that, like I said, so they could come back. Is she left me? They get to tell everybody that. And then for them, clearly, it makes no sense for them to leave and be like, I want you back. It's illogical to me. So I think they make you leave so they can be like, why'd you leave me? What? You for real right now, my guy? Okay. They were down with them so they don't feel good enough about themselves. But in reality, I think women who leave should hold their head high and say, holy, can you believe what this idiot lost? No, for sure. I be looking in the mirror like, what Cardi say? Insert that right there. And what Megan say? Look in the mirror, ladies. You see it. You see you. Quit playing. And it's more than just a look. But if you got that to serve too, girl, please. He had everything in me and he effed it up. And I know that. That's why I be trying to get back with you. My ex never physically hurt me, but that doesn't mean he was good to me. Same here. And when I left him, despite him begging and pleading and promising to change and telling me how it would be terrible for our kids, like they all got the same book. They all got the same playbook. Like they read and they study. Have you ever had to like study someone else's notes and then you give them to the next person? That's why they be like, come on, you took the test yet? No, okay, here you go. You want my notes? They all got the same damn playbook. Okay. Telling me how it would be terrible for our kids. No, it'd be terrible for your kids if you stay. It did get way easier because suddenly I was only caring for two kids instead of three. I wasn't managing his emotions and his expectations about what was for dinner and cleaning up after his mess. And that's another thing. They want to eat every day, but they don't know what they want to eat. So now I got to think about what we're going to eat. I got to go to the grocery store or order the groceries to get what we're going to eat. And then I have to also cook what we're going to eat. Well, I ain't cooking nothing, but I do that much. Maybe every once in a while I cook. But if I do cook, you better act like it's the best thing you ever ate in your life. I don't care what Latrice, he gonna eat anything I put on his plate. Some stuff financially and the day to day did get harder, but I have not regretted it even once. Gemini Venus 92 says, just reading this is exhausting. I mean, it's not going to change. You're already 6 years in, still unwed and with a kid. He's figured he has locked you in. No need to perform anymore. If he proposed, say no. After 5 years, he don't really want to marry you. He just don't want you to believe. Trust me, I know. He's going to get meaner. If you leave, he will put on the performance that it will get better for a few months. Probably put another baby in you so you're really locked in and then start the BS all over again. My opinion is to dip while you're just with one kid, and I think we can all second that emotion. Aphrodite's Revenge says, absolutely agree with this right here. Do not let him trap you any further, OP. Being a single mom isn't always easy, but you and your baby will be free. You sound hardworking, competent, and the fact that you're asking for advice here tells me you're a good mom and you care about your baby. Please take this advice. Do not give him the opportunity to trick you into thinking he's changed for a while just to hurt you too again. Many of us in this comment section have been exactly where you are. You have to make a plan and get out. Good luck with whatever you decide. I wish you all the best. And then Lawrence Lag Nayab says, my life got so much easier when I was only cleaning up after my kid and myself on my own time. No, for real, because you might, man, it's a pile of clothes on my bed right now. Interest dash basis 678 says, it sounds like you're already a single mom raising two kids. Something to think about. How is his treatment of you going to impact your son in 5, 10, 15 years? And everybody listening to this that has children or knows someone with children who would like to help them out, especially those who believe, what about the kids? Or my kids are going to be sad if I leave him. What are your kids going to be like watching his behavior and you submit to it for 5, 10, 15 years? Okay. If your answer is it will impact your son negatively, then I think you know what your answer is and what you should do. The kids' well being should always be the first priority. Duck7 Goose says, sweetie, you need to leave. You don't want your son seeing you treated this way and thinking it's okay for him to treat a girl that way someday. You don't want him thinking he can treat you how his dad treats you. And I think that was probably part of the problem in the Reddit that I did the other day about a 13-year-old or trying to attack his mom. I bet that dad was a monster because anytime I hear a man and he's like deteriorating, my first thought is you was terrible to a woman somewhere. I'm sorry. Let me know if I'm wrong in the comments. Let me know. Because that's usually my first thought. You that bad? Dialysis and such? Be it your mom, be it your wife, girlfriend, ex-wife, kids. It was terrible to somebody somewhere. And the dad was going through kidney problems and dialysis and all kind of stuff. And the 13-year-old son was abusive to the mother to the point where she's afraid for her safety and afraid to sleep in her home. Being a single parent won't be much different than how it started out for you. You were already doing everything yourself. It's hard, but it gets easier with time, depending on where you live. A single parent can't just sign their rights away. In some areas, that's what I'm saying. Another person has to be there to step up and legally become the kid's new parent. If you are in the area where someone can sign their rights away easily, then let him. You don't want someone like that in yours and your son's life, anyways. Life underscore equivalent underscore 1603 says, it was easier for me. My partner was an alcoholic and a lot of them be drunks. And unfortunately, his drinking got progressively worse during my pregnancy. He was so sober for about 4 days after we came home from the hospital. I couldn't even trust him to stay sober to watch, air quotes, her, so I could go get my hair done. What's the point of being with someone I can't even trust to be around our child? It was a really sad situation, but I didn't want my baby growing up in that environment. She's 3 now, and we're very happy. Shout out to you. Pride Shine says, girl, leave. Life is easier without a partner that is more like another child rather than an adult. Things will be a lot calmer. Plus, your child is learning character traits from him as well. If he signs his rights, he still has to pay child support. Okay, that's what I was wondering too. Depending on what state, as long as paternity has been established. There is someone out there that can meet your emotional needs as well as everything else required of a good man. The best place to start looking is the church for a good one. Don't you go to church looking for no good man. I'm going to leave that right there. This Wombat says, just because he's not physically abusive doesn't mean he's not abusive. I left him when my little one was 2, so not quite postpartum, but I wish I left earlier. Your husband sounds abusive. You deserve an equitable relationship. I agree. Strong underscore Willow says, yes, for sure. Your future could be a lot brighter and happier. Sounds like he's dragging you down. I get legal advice quietly because if I was you, I wouldn't want to leave my child with him. Sounds like you have a good career, and with the right advice, timing, and support to find your feet again, you'll be so glad you did. Yeah, and that was the last reply. Thank you so much for watching. To my tens and tens of friends, if you're not one of my tens, don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. And I will see you in the next one. Bye, 10. When I get this message from my phone, I always think to myself, how rude. You don't know what I'm doing in my life right now for you to be like, time to get moving. Why are you judging me? I don't like it.